Okay, the changes from this budget from last week's budget are on page 5. Line item 401, 310. The professional services has been increased from 5,000 to 16,500 to include, to cover the costs of the new website charges. The next change is on page 7. Line item 407, 220. The computer software, the IT networking has been increased from 20,000 up to 26,000. The increase is needed to cover costs of doing upgrades from Windows 7 to Windows 10.
It's right at the top. You got it.
Please.
407, 220. Should be at the top of page 7. The next line item is page 9, line item 412, 530. Contribution to Southbridge has been increased from 25,000 to 50,000. Also on page 9, line item 411, 420, dues, subscriptions, and memberships has been increased from $0 to $3,500 to cover the cost of the emergency reporting system that was purchased this year. The subscription cost for that. 411, 420.
Is that a yearly fee?
Yes, it is. The last page, page 14. $492,008 transfer to the Lawrence SOAR Fund CD has been reduced from 40,000 down to 0. You had talked at the last workshop meeting about issuing a bond issue for the work that needs to be done there. So the cost, the work that you would need to do or that you're committed to the SOAR Authority for the work in the Lawrence SOAR would be covered with that bond issue.
Well, it wouldn't just be a bond issue for Lawrence Sewage. It would be a bond issue for the building of a new public works building, which we would then roll additional money that we need for Lawrence Sewage from that bond issue. We don't currently have enough saved, even with $40,000 in there, to cover what we have committed to should it move forward, which it's looking like it's going to in January.
Also on page 14, line item 499000, unallocated funds, has been decreased from $6,000 down to 0. Those are the changes that have been made to the budget. A question was asked at last week's workshop about the cost of recycling the leaves that we incur every year. In 2016, we paid $3,150. In 2017, we paid $4,500. In 2018, we paid $3,600. And so far this year, through actually today's date, because I did a check run today, it's $2,250. I believe I've covered everything that I was asked to cover at the last budget meeting.
Anybody have any questions?
The money to Southbridge, what did they use that for?
I can answer that question if you want me to. I had a conversation with Dan Miller this morning. It will be used for improvements to their building. We own the land that the building's on. We own the land that the building's on. We could even, before we give it to them, we could write a contract that requires that, if that makes you more comfortable. I'm just asking, whatever you want, whatever is easier. Anybody else?
I still would like to see something done or us address the problem of the volunteer fire departments. And the thought was still to maybe put that $250,000 into a fund for them for permanent assets so that they could purchase the fire trucks or buildings or whatever. I think it's an issue we have to address. I think it's something that needs to be in the budget. When a house is on fire, we desperately need those people.
I spoke with Eddie Pobrick. They are more than pleased with what they get. More than pleased. And according to Cecil Laughingstock today, everybody says this is personal between me and Bill Cass. Me and Bill Cass can disagree all the time. These people write this stuff and they won't even put their name to it because they're cowards.
Yeah, well,
But they managed to save $687,000 with no fundraisers. That tells me we're giving them plenty of money.
No, but the fire study report did show that we had all of our trucks were 20 years old.
No, that
and,
wasn't true. I talked to Cecil Fire Departments. They had one.
yeah, that's what the fire study said.
Well, it
The
was
thought,
wrong, Eric.
the thought is to put that money into the fire departments and allow them to have that, or maybe that would free up their money.
For what?
Free up their money so that maybe they could do something creative and put a business there that, or an office center or something that would allow people that work from home to work from that office and then show up at the fire. We have the problem where we can't get people to fight the fires out of the Muse Station in the daytime. And that's something that needs to be addressed. And this would be a solution that may free up some of that money and allow them to do something a little more creative.
And I think the solution would be, as the gentleman told us from Philadelphia, was one fire department. Just one. How much money we would save. I mean, we're giving them $600,000. Think about that. That's a lot of money.
Can I say two things? One, you're saying to put the $250,000 away for a fire truck. Now you're saying an office building.
Oh, I always said a building or a fire truck, but an asset to the township, a fire truck or whatever. And you give it to fire department number 1, 2, and 3, or 3, 2, 1, or 2, 3, 1, whatever order you want to. But the idea is the same way that you set up a separate fund for the Parks and Rec for $250,000, I think that should be something set up for the fire departments.
There isn't a Parks and Rec fund for $250,000, first of all. Second of all, I did a little research. I did what you asked, and I kept an open mind, and so I did a little research. And I'm not going to call out the municipality, but there is a municipality very close by that has a $1.3 million budget that includes fire equipment, turnover gear, trucks, building, everything, salary, and they have 21 paid firemen for 1.3 million. You're asking us to give what we already give, plus another $250,000 in excess of $1 million. That would solve their problem because we could have paid firemen. We could have paid firemen at that point, and a lot of them. So I think that you need to do what we learned in that class. Take a step back, figure out what it is that they truly need, figure out how we would implement it, make a policy, so instead of just putting money away that could be used to other things in the budget now, and then come up with a plan and then pay for it.
'Cause he also said you could have 3 chiefs, but you'd have to hire 1 chief in charge of all them.
I'm okay with
And
that.
I don't think we're in the business of buying fire trucks. Those fire trucks do not belong to the township. They belong to them fire departments. They're their trucks. And now we're going to intermingle buying trucks for who? Which fire department?
All of them out of a $10 million budget. I don't think it's out of the question to put another $250,000 into the fire departments. It's a volunteer fire department, and I'm thankful for each one of them, and I think we should be fortunate, and we're blessed to have them to stay as a volunteer fire department as long as we can, you know? But it is a situation that needs addressed. If we don't have firemen that could go to the fire and put out a fire at the Muse Elementary School because we don't have a fireman, it's a situation that needs to be addressed.
So
Almost to the point of, I don't think it's resolved, I don't think we have an answer for it, but yet I see that you were looking for a vote even this evening, or the third workshop was even canceled. Didn't even have time to come up with a solution.
What's the $250,000 going to do towards Muse answering daylight fire calls?
Pardon me?
What's that going to do for Muse not being able to answer calls?
We got to come up with something. They got to
Well,
do something.
what's that money going to do?
So I gave that example of people that work from home. Maybe they would work from a remote office location. Maybe someone had the idea of
But they could do
setting
that
up an
now.
incentive plan that our public works could get a little more money or something that way.
But they could do that now. If you work from home and you can leave your house where you're working to go to a fire call, why do you need to sit
not-
at the, can I finish? Why do you need to sit at the fire station? Why can't you sit from home and answer that call?
Oh, it's not working.
And Eric, the
Not working.
public
We're not
works,
having the developments. We're not having Timber Run or any of the residents coming down and volunteering. We're not having Georgetown Estates people come and volunteering.
So
that
how
is their
two-
duty to go out and get firemen.
So how is $250,000 gonna help that?
Well, my thought was if that went towards the permanent assets of the fire department, going towards a truck or their building, that would maybe free up the fire tax money that they could use for those other ideas or incentives.
And your idea about the township workers, they've already expressed, they're union. They're not going to do that. They're Teamsters. They're not going to go help put a fire out.
But Lawrence Fire Department got a $180,000 grant for retention on top of the $200,000 that we already give them. So how much, I mean, at some point, I don't disagree with you, Eric, that something needs to be done, but at some point, we need to come up with a plan because volunteerism isn't getting better, it's getting worse. But before we start throwing money at it, we need to make sure the money is well spent. So we need to continue what we're doing with the fire department meetings and the trainings and figure out a plan to either get paid firemen or come up with retention, but putting away another $250,000 that could go to something that's being immediately used doesn't make sense.
No, that's your opinion. Mine is to put it into their building that they're building or put it into a fire truck. And right now, nothing could stop them. If they wanted to dissolve their fire departments, they could.
They
know?
could,
Exactly
but
right.
we
You're
co-signed
right.
on their fire trucks. And
Who
we get them.
co-signed?
The township,
Did we sign anything for Muse?
yeah.
You think so? Dawn, do you know if we did?
In the past, we have, yes. Not on
For
the,
this $1.2 million new ladder truck?
not in their latest truck now.
No.
But we did for Lawrence, and we did for Cecil, and we're going to for Cecil's building.
Well, I just think that out of $10 million, we should be putting something into that as
Well,
well.
where are you gonna get it, Eric?
We need to look into grant monies. I had talked to the chief this past winter over at North Strabane, Mark Grimm, and he said they will pay like 100%, I think, for 3 years and reduce maybe back to 75%. These monies are available, and they're not hard to get. He said he would even help us in the grant application.
Any other topics that you want to discuss?
No, that's all for me. That's the main one.
At this point, we can take.
I didn't see any approval for the Parks and Rec and a part-time person. Is it the feeling of the board that that should just rely with Jack?
That's his job. That's
Okay.
why he was hired.
Okay. Probably he got a lot of hats on.
Huh?
You agree that he has a lot of hats though, too, right?
Well, that was what he applied for,
Okay.
correct?
I mean, I feel in the past, the Parks and Rec Board was reluctant to maybe make decisions, be put in that place to order equipment or such, and I think that's gonna change.
Okay.
And our road department is pretty good on their own, keeping up with the parks. I mean, if they see something needs done, they do it. I mean, I can't see just spending another $35,000 to create a position.
Well, that thought was just an original thought in responding to some of the citizens' comments that said, we need better communication, you know, so.
That was 4 years ago.
It's still, it's still, the comment comes up that they want better communication with the township, so another person would provide better communication.
Why?
The website, the Facebook page would provide better communication, all those things, I think they go hand in hand with getting residents' answers.
The website is underway. It's budgeted for, Jack's working on a contract with them. It was already board approved. Adding another body into the building isn't gonna change that.
Okay, I respect your opinion, but I would appreciate it. I think another body would be needed or shall be needed. The other thing that I'm not ready for today, but I saw where at the supervisors conference, some of the in-house people are engineers. You know, that may be something we look at down the road or in the future as well. Instead of paying out the $150,000, $250,000, they have a in-house engineer that comes out of the $10 million budget that handles some of the work, and then the overflow goes elsewhere. But those are just things that we have to address. I wouldn't mind also, I don't know, I think that there should be a reserve in the budget. I think there should be some type of a fund as a reserve. I talked about it, was it last year or 2 years ago? Was the, 2 years ago, I talked about how when we use all the money, I think that there was a time that was our rating for the township a B or a C plus versus
It's never
versus
been-
if we had,
You said that, it's never been, and I can look it up right now.
it's never been, it's always been an A?
Not
Yeah,
in 22 years, it hasn't been.
yeah.
Okay.
And I can look that up right now.
Okay. But I think there should be there should be a, I don't know what, an emergency fund, a fund that is for whatever comes up. We had the hillside falling down,
Can
and
I-
we had to go and replace that.
We have money in a CD. I don't know the exact dollar amount off the top of my head. I know it's in excess of $500,000. So we have reserve funds.
And Eric, in response to your engineers, once you get them, you assume all responsibility and all liability. Look at Orange Strabane, $7 million. Who's gonna pay for that? Are we gonna pay that if we have the in-house engineers?
You're right. I'm just saying that I saw that was a trend going on there, but I think that we have the studies, the geo studies that are done with all of our new buildings put up, and that's our advantage, where I don't think they were doing that over in that township.
We're an A1 rated. We
I-
just
I
have-
We are currently,
All
but I
our
thought that
buildings
there
are
was a time that
inspected.
we were either a C plus or a B minus.
No.
Donnie just said never.
Okay.
Not that I recall. I mean, I really don't recall that. Ever being,
Do you find any wisdom in
So 20.
putting $200,000-300,000 that might go towards higher attorney fees, higher engineering fees?
Wait, I didn't hear you, sorry.
Do you go along with the idea of having extra money in the budget if there's something for an emergency that comes up?
We have extra money, Eric. We
You're
have-
taking it from a CD, right? And how much is it? How much is in
I
there?
don't know. It's in excess of 500,000. I don't know the exact dollar amount off the top of my head.
Do you know, Cindy?
I believe it's just shy of 600,000
That's what I was
in the
thinking,
capital
too.
reserve.
Yeah. We have money put aside. I don't disagree with you, our attorney's fees are way too high. But that's not a solution to be solved in a budget meeting. That's a solution to be discussed about whether or not we need to make a change there, or if we need to rein it in. But we don't need to put money aside. We have money put aside.
All right.
We also have wiggle room in the budget to adjust things as they happen throughout the year. We've had to do it before. You know, we have $1 million put away for roads. If we need to pull $100,000 because there's an emergency road issue, then we do it. If we need to pull, not make an expenditure that we have budgeted because there's a true emergency, then we do it. If we need to pull money from the CD, then we do it. But I also don't think that we should be in the business of saving taxpayer dollars. They expect us to spend it for the improvement of their lifestyle. That's why we get it. To improve the roads, to improve the parks, to pay police, fire, EMS, that kind of stuff. It's not for us to stack up for the future.
As far as paid firemen, I think our first step would be, like Mount Pleasant Township, they hired part-time firemen at $12 an hour. I mean, if you hire 3 firemen, just the health insurance is gonna be astronomical.
A1 to A3. That's something on that. Nothing. That means nothing. No. In maybe this is what you're talking about, Eric. In 2017, we went from an A1 rated to an A3 rated and then back to an A1. But we were never a C or a B minus.
I was thinking it was something back in 4 years ago or so, doesn't matter, I accept the answer, but I think it's a wise way, just to stash it. Doesn't mean the money's not used. It
We
means
have it.
that it's there just for an open budget.
Eric, how much more money do you want put aside? We already have $600,000.
I don't know, what do you think? We need $1 million?
No,
No?
I don't.
We had, what were the emergencies last year? We had to do that road. Did we need a truck last minute for Public Works? No. That was before, that was a year before.
Anger Road, we had that slide on Anger Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they got the money
$200,000.
from somewhere else. Bill got the money from somewhere else or something to pay for that.
Right.
I think it was only 200.
How much was it?
I think it was
200?
200, then it was less than that because our road department did a lot of the work.
How about the slip on, up above where we needed the KB and baskets and all that?
On Coleman,
Coleman, yeah.
that was like 170, but that was 2 or 3 years ago.
All right, as long as we're able to borrow the money from somewhere else,
Why are we borrowing it? We have it.
well, we'll get it from somewhere else. You know what I meant?
Any other comments? Can we take a vote?
if you want to,
Okay.
Close the workshop and then.
All right, I'm gonna close this budget workshop, and I'm gonna open the, what would you call it? Special meeting for the Board of Supervisors. In attendance are Supervisor Fisher, Aguizio, Fleer, and Savavic. We're going to consider the adoption of the preliminary 2020 budget for Cecil Township. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I'd like to have discussion. Could we, do you have a motion? Do you have any discussion? Do you
Well,
have a
isn't-
second? Do you have
you're
a
the-
second on it?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so you're the one
You
that
have to make a
always,
motion, and then you have a second, and then you have discussion.
so I was okay.
I
So,
make a motion, we adopt it.
do I have a second?
Second.
Now
And
you're
you
done.
ask for discussion.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm surprised that this does show up, that you were canceling the third meeting. We started last year, September, had a meeting September, October, November, and it's like going very, very quickly that, I don't know if there was time, or maybe I'd have more time to find the $250,000 to put towards the fire departments. Just saw this notice today that the meeting, November 25th, was canceled. The meeting,
I don't think so.
November 25th was canceled. I didn't know about it, Frank didn't know about it, we didn't vote on it. Who decided against having a third budget meeting?
I spoke to multiple board members.
Do you have, you didn't talk to Frank, you didn't talk to me, Tommy doesn't take your calls.
I did talk to Tom. I also spoke with Ron, and I also spoke with Frank.
Frank told me he didn't hear from you on that topic.
No, I did hear from her.
Oh.
And
All right, well, you should include me, send me an email or something, or get me a message to know that you wanted to cancel that, because you just changed the timeline. Maybe members of the audience or the
it was
public would
also
like to know.
emailed to you. Hold on, I can tell you.
Maybe the public would like to have any comments during the,
Does anybody have any comments?
It was advertised, it was, hold on, it was also emailed to you. Hold on, let me pull up the email.
Eric, our discussion was if I thought I was okay with the budget. Our discussion was not about cancellation of any meeting, to clarify it.
well, I
for the
asked
record.
if you knew the meeting was canceled. You
No,
said
I do
This is
not
the
know.
First I heard of it.
Until from you tonight, I did not know the meeting was canceled. I did have a conversation with Supervisor Fisher about my thoughts of this budget. If I thought I was okay with it, I responded as yes.
I'm
But
trying
the
not,
canceling of the meeting, that was,
I had
Was
no
there a vote?
knowledge of canceling a meeting till I spoke with you this evening.
Right.
Until I went home and then seen the ad on my computer
and
from
my
the
point
Observer
is,
report.
you should just run it by the whole board, or if
So
you plan
I-
on canceling something.
can I
Call me.
answer?
You talk to me.
I
don't-
talked to Ron,
don't
I
talk
spoke
to
with
me.
Tom, I have a text message from Tom, I spoke to Frank. You were emailed last Thursday about it, you did not respond. It was advertised, and the public had plenty of time to be aware of this. I'm not in the business of wasting time or wasting people's time. We had a budget that a majority of this board agreed upon. I didn't see the need in having our employees and the public come back for meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting where we beat every dead horse in the building. So, yes, I did make the decision after speaking with multiple board members that we had a budget that we were comfortable with. The public had every opportunity. It was advertised properly. I don't know what to tell you, Eric. I didn't call you, you're right, but you were emailed.
It's in the name, it's called the second budget workshop, the first budget workshop. That's what you do, you work on it, you figure things out, you figure out what is the best way to spend $10 million.
Hold on, Eric.
So
You got three members here, and I don't know what Tom's opinion is. You're the only one who has a problem with it. So you can go drag it out as long as you want, and it's still gonna be the same vote. We were all happy with the figures that Cindy provided, and I think Cindy did a great job.
Not me, Cindy, that's Cindy.
Yeah, not you.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. I just want to clarify for the public.
But,
That's Cindy over there.
I
We
mean,
heard
why
her.
drag this thing out? Everything is a balanced budget, correct?
Yep.
So why do you want to drag it out? I mean, you can see the general consensus is, we're not going to give you $250,000 for the firemen. We're not going to hire somebody for the parks. We're working on a webpage, which you requested. I mean, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
It's a great point.
Could we have come up with an answer for that $250,000 for the fire department?
No.
On November 25th?
Nothing's gonna
Could we have
change.
come up with that idea? Why-
I don't
why does it
believe
have
so,
to-
Eric.
Go ahead.
It's a lot of cuts. That was a lot of cuts to come up with that amount of money, this budget. I wouldn't know where to begin cutting.
Can I ask you something? What fire department is complaining about the money?
Nothing. It's a problem that I feel needs to be addressed.
That's you.
By the board. That's right. It's something that I feel needs to be addressed. We don't have someone that's responding to fires in the afternoon in Muse.
That's not
Is it-
true.
That's
Are you aware of
Muse's
that?
problem.
Are you aware of that?
I've been aware of that. And Cecil number 10 takes them.
And I think.
And they're covered.
And I think we need to address it. That's my
Cecil
point.
gets to South Point 10 faster than Muse does when they do answer a call.
That's the thing, I noticed Saturday night listening to a scanner, and I made this known to a couple board members. Police and firefighters, to me, are a brotherhood. They stick together. 9/11 dispatches, they feel they have needs for. There was probably 4 or 5 fire departments dispatched Saturday night down on Pike Street. You know, Muse was one of them. They responded. So I think they do help one another out
For sure.
in these emergency cases. Same with police. If they need help, there's backup coming.
I can't see putting $250,000 in a pot that's just going to sit there. I'm sure if something comes up, that is, we as supervisors are going to do whatever it takes to handle it. We're not just going to leave somebody hanging. And I don't think you can go to November 25th for another meeting. You're going to get the same vote. I mean, if you think the firemen need more money, I haven't seen one fireman at either meeting. I haven't seen Southbridge here at a meeting. Believe me, the firemen, they need something, they'll tell you.
Okay, that's all I have for discussion. I think I should have been informed, though, if you're going to cancel the final workshop.
How would you like to be informed? I
I
sent,
I don't know if that was enough time for the public to be informed as well.
do you think they want to sit there and listen to us talk about the same thing over and over and over again?
I'm surprised all these people are here.
Thanks for coming. All right, if there's no other discussion, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Passes 3-1. It will now be on display for what? 20 days. 20
Cindy,
days.
thanks for your work.
Thanks. It will be displayed starting Friday for 20
You'll get
days
another
for public
plant for your
review.
office.
Thank you, Cindy. Thanks, Don. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Jack.
Did you leave it for a greenhouse, add it on to her office?
A greenhouse.